Hello everyone, back tuning into today's third and final video. So for today's third and final video, we're going to have a look at the weather for next week's 10 days. That's going to take us to around the 4th of November, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECMWF ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFS V2 for November at the end of the video. Talking of the CFS, we just released JMA Friday, which is the month-head look ahead, and that's comparing the Japanese and CFS V2 models to see what they're showing for the next 4 weeks. Hints of rather cold first half of November, I have to say, so see what's going on there with those two long-range models. The first video today was having a quick look at Halloween and Bonfire Night. So if you want to know what the weather could be doing for both Halloween and for Bonfire Night, then do have a look at that video, which was the first look today. At the end of this video, I'll talk you through everything that's coming up at weekend. It's going to be a very busy weekend at Gazovitz this weekend. But before I do anything else, I'm going to say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donor. So we've had a donation to Gazovitz from PayPal. This donor would like to stay anonymous. So all I can say is a big thank you to this person. They know who they are, and thank you so much for your donation this week. So if you would like to give a donation to Gazovitz, and all you need to do is come to Gazovitz PayPal page, sign into your PayPal account, and you can send a donation to Gazovitz. You'll get a mention in the videos, whether that's by name or whether we just say thank you to this anonymous person. If you'd rather not have your name mentioned in the video, it's absolutely fine, but we will say thank you very much for your donation either way. If you'd like to stay anonymous, then just leave a little note with your donation and let us know that's what you'd like. You may want to mention for your website, for your business website and whatnot. We're happy to go there and give it a plug in the video, so it's however you want that mention, we're happy to do it. And a special thank you to Anonymous for that donation that we have received this week. There's also, of course, patrons. So we have 66 patrons for Gazovitz so far. So hello and a big thank you to our 66 patrons. We hope you're enjoying the content. If you'd like to become a patron for Gazovitz, you need to come to Gazovitz's Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, assuming you don't already have one, and then give an ongoing monthly donation from anything from $1 a month upwards to Gazovitz. And that's absolutely great. Thank you so much to everybody for becoming patrons and for their donations to Gazovitz. You're helping us to pay for Gazovitz.com and keep the content online. So a big thank you to all of our patrons, big thank you to all of our donors, and a special thank you to Anonymous for your donation. Thank you so much for doing that. Right, let's start off in the tropical Atlantic then. Haven't talked about this for a couple of days, but we have got two disturbance areas. We have got a yellow X over here, and we've got a red X just there in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's deal with the yellow X first of all. So that's disturbance 2, with just a 20% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. National Hurricane Center with this one are saying as of 8 a.m. EDT, shower activity has increased this morning near the center of a large non-tropical low centered a few hundred miles southwest of the Western Azores. Some additional development of this system is possible during the next couple of days as it moves generally east to northeastwards. Keep an eye on that. And then, of course, we've got this red X over here in the Gulf of Mexico. There's quite a lot to say about that. It's disturbance 1, and it has a 70% chance, a high chance, of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. So, again, I'm saying, as of 8 a.m. EDT, satellite imagery indicates that the circulation of the low pressure system over the western Gulf of Mexico is becoming better defined, and that the associated shower and thunderstorm activity continues to show signs of organisation. It appears likely that a short-lived tropical cyclone will form later today. However, the system is forecast to merge with a cold front and become post-tropical tonight over the northwestern Gulf of Mexico. Regardless of development, gale force winds are expected behind the cold front over the western Gulf of Mexico today and through Saturday. For more information, see high seas forecast issued by the National Weather Service. An Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft is scheduled to investigate the system later today, if necessary, with a 70% chance of cyclone formation. So this may briefly become a named tropical cyclone or storm. They're going to merge with a cold front and go subtropical probably by tomorrow. So if it does get named, it will only last for like a few hours and then it's gone. But still, things are relatively active within the tropical Atlantic, so we should wait and see, of course, if there are any more disturbances. We are drawing to the end of this hurricane season now, of course, but you can still sometimes get hurricanes late in October and even into early November, so we should wait and see if there are any more developments over the next week or two. Things are pretty wild back at home, actually. We've got a lot of wet weather around today. So this is the latest radar picture from Gauss weather vid. So you can see that we've got this band of really heavy rain here across much of northern England and going down into Wales. Some very bright colours in there, indicating very heavy and persistent rain. And it is going to be the sheer persistence of this wet weather that's going to carry on for the next 24, some places 36 hours of continuous rain up to the end of tomorrow before the system finally pushes away. If I show you the facts chart, this is the human interpretation of models by forecasters at the UK Met Office. This is for 6 a.m. tomorrow. So we've got this trailing weather front through the central part of England and Wales. That is the front that's producing this band of very heavy rain across northern England, much of Wales, down to southwest England, into the north and West Midlands too, and also affecting the far southeast of Northern Ireland. So that front trails a long way back. If we look down into the middle of the Atlantic, we can see the front trails a long way down into the tropical Atlantic, or subtropical Atlantic. It sort of goes off the chart down here. It does continue to go even further down into the central Atlantic. And of course we've got these pulses of continuous rain running along this front. So there is the potential for the rainfall totals to really clock up, particularly across parts of northwest England, north and west Wales. I reckon 100 millimetres, over 100 millimetres is certainly possible in the next 24 hours or so. That is more than 4 inches of rain. So very significant amounts of rain falling on the western slopes of northwest England and also Wales will undoubtedly give us a risk of localised flooding over the weekend. And on the southern side of this, there isn't as much rain for southern southeast England, but you have got very tight spots. So the windiest weather is actually on the southern side of this trailing weather front across the southeastern corner and through the south coast. And we could see gusts of wind up to 50 or 60 miles an hour there, up to gale force. Behind this front, we're bringing colder air in from the north. So the front itself does mark the boundary between really quite warm air trying to push up from the tropical Atlantic and much colder air digging in from the Arctic. So this is the upper air temperature forecast from the GFS model for 6 o'clock this evening. You can see this big temperature contrast from north to south. We've got the -5 Celsius ice firm here digging into the north. At the same time, we've got the 10 Celsius ice firm plus 10 Celsius ice firm pushing close to the south. So a large temperature contrast, both in terms of the upper air temperatures and the surface temperatures, marked by this trailing weather front that goes all the way off down there with pulses of rain running along that weather front, marking the boundary, if you like, between sort of late, early autumn, late summer type conditions to the south and sort of early winter type conditions up to the north. Another way of looking at this temperature contrast is through the thickness line. So this is showing cloud for one part of the chart. So we've got those thick white areas. That's where we've got lots of cloud. Of course, we've got this weather front trailing through the country today, bringing outbreaks of rain, so you can expect a lot of cloud on that. But we also look at these charts for thickness, which is another way of looking at temperature, really. So we've got these different coloured lines. So that's sort of summer down there. So summer is now restricted really to Spain and into parts of the Mediterranean. This green line just here, which is the 546 line, that is autumn. So when you're within that line, it's going to be genuinely autumnal. And then this blue line here, that is the 528 thickness line, and that's winter. Behind that line is going to be wintry. And one of the minimum requirements to get snow in the winter is to be within the 528 thickness line. This darker blue line up here, a very long way north at the moment, that is the 510 thickness line. And when you're within that, you're going to be severely cold. So back when we had the beast from the east at the end of February last year, we did in fact go within the 510 thickness line for 2 or 3 days, and we got quite excited about that because we don't tend to see the 510 thickness line all that often, especially so from the east. But anyway, coming back to the more relevant lines for us, so this is like autumn. Just here. So on the southern side of that line, it's going to be relatively mild, but on the northern side of it is going to be quite cold. Of course, again, it's that temperature contrast that is fueling this weather front. Now, as we get through to the end of the weekend, or into Sunday, I suppose I should say, the mild air is being pushed down into France. We've obviously gone much colder for the south compared to where we are today, and the -5 Celsius ice firm is digging in across the northern parts of the country. You can see that also in terms of the thickness lines, that autumn line, the 546 line, is now down across southern parts of England. So a big drop in temperature is on the way by the end of the weekend, and that's going to take us into next week with the chance of some really quite potent, for the time of year anyway, for late October, some really quite potent overnight frost is likely as we get through to the beginning and middle part of next week, I would have thought. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles next couple of weeks. We're at Manchester today. So the red line is 30-year upper air temperature average for Manchester. Little bit above average at the moment. That warmer air associated with this frontal system is just going to get up to northwest England and then push back southwards again. So you can see the temperature does lift up. The upper air temperature does lift up over the next few hours. And then it's dropping away as we go into the weekend. And then we go into quite an extended run of colder than average weather for the end of October and into early November. And even right at the very end of the ensemble, which is taking us into the second week of November now, it only looks like we return to average. So there's no sign in the next couple of weeks of anything particularly warm coming up. Certainly no sign of anything particularly mild or warm on the way in the next week to 10 days, far from it, and probably not in the next couple of weeks either. Precipitation-wise, well, look at this huge rainfall spike that we've got for right now. So there's going to be many more hours of heavy rain to come for the northwest of England, and as I say, those rainfall totals really will be clocking up in the next 24 to 36 hours. Now, once that wet weather is out of the way, by the end of tomorrow and into Sunday, we're going to a drier run then. So have a few days next week of drier weather. But by the time we go into early November, it looks like it's turning increasingly unsettled once again. That's some way off, so it's in the unreliable time frame. But I think the trend is there that any drier weather next week probably doesn't last very long, and it probably won't be long before we're back to unsettled, but still relatively cool or possibly even quite cold conditions. Temperature anomalies from the 25th of October to the 2nd of November are below average, a colder than average week coming up for the UK, for Ireland, for large parts of Scandinavia as well, particularly Norway, looking quite cold, and even down into northern parts of France, Low Countries, a little bit below average in even there. It looks like the temperatures are dropping in the next few days across many parts of Europe. Precipitation-wise, so it looks drier than average for Scotland and Northern Ireland and the southeast of England. You can see this wetter zone just here through the central swathe of the country. We will probably see these charts, this of course taking into account today and tomorrow's wet weather. Once that's out of the way, we'll probably see these charts going drier than average for all of us. Over in America, it's quite a cold scene too, particularly through these central states. So substantially below average temperature anomalies from like the northern states and then down through the Midwest as well into breadbasket. Looks generally quite cold there. It's only on the far eastern side of America, up this eastern coast, eastern seaboard, but it's warmer than average, and also perhaps around the Pacific coast as well, particularly for parts of California. But otherwise, it looks like quite a cold week coming up. Much of the states from the 25th of October to the 2nd of November. Precipitation-wise, very dry in the west. So many of those western, southwestern states, no rainfall expected at all, really. The east and southeastern part of America, though, does look largely wetter than average. And then through the central states, where it's coldest, looks like there's a fair amount of dry weather through there as well. Coming back close to home, this is how things are looking on Monday with the latest GFS run. So we have high pressure setting up around Iceland and Greenland on Monday. That's turning the wind into a cold northerly through the early part of next week. This high pressure is maintained up to the middle of next week. The high gradually starts to slip down over the UK, so cut off those northerly winds, but nothing has happened to introduce a milder feed of air, so it's probably still going to be quite cold, especially so at night. As this high slips down across the country, we may have increasing issues with fog, I would have thought, through the early part of next week. Or middle part of next week, I should say. Later on, this low pressure begins to develop out to the west. That starts to head in towards the second half of next week, bring cloud and outbreaks of rain in from off the Atlantic. Quite a bit of uncertainty about the movement of this area of low pressure. So that's going to be one to watch. It could bring us a wet end to next week. Conversely, the low might sort of stall out in the Atlantic, and we maintain the high pressure. As we get through to the first weekend of November, so this is Saturday, 2nd of November, that low is centred over northern parts of France. We're putting in a cold east to northeasterly wind there, and there'd be, particularly for England and Wales, a lot of heavy rain too. If we was a month to 6 weeks on, 4 to 6 weeks on, I suspect that would be bringing snow to large parts of the country. So, as it is, though, it's only early November, so that's just going to be mostly cold rain, outbreaks of rain with a cold east to northeasterly wind. Moving up towards day 10, that low gets out of the way and we build this ridge up as we head towards bonfire night, so still pretty cold and there'd be risk of more frost there, I would have thought, but it is a little bit drier. And then we go into the extended range, and low pressure then is piling in from the Atlantic, bringing outbreaks of rain with it, looking very unsettled as we get through to the end of this particular GFS run, which gets us to Sunday the 10th of November. And you'll notice over time heights are rising both to the northeast and to the north. We're raising the heights there, so this low pressure with the jet stream is being pushed onto a northwest southeast alignment. If the low was to collapse further, it's possible we will start to bring in some easterly winds, so that looks cold and wet as we go into the end of the GFS run, which does, as I say, get us to Sunday the 10th of November. GM looks like that, so we're in a cold northerly wind through the early part of next week, but under high pressure there will be a lot of dry weather. Watch out for increasing risk of fog by the middle of next week and some pretty frosty nights too. Second half next week gradually sees this ridge beginning to shift eastwards. Low pressure is starting to move in from the Atlantic, but it's a slow old process to do it. And as we get towards day 10, that's how we're looking, increasingly building up high pressure over Scandinavia. It doesn't have us in an easterly wind, but we have got high pressure over Scandinavia, but is trying to turn the wind into the east. There is a little bit of trough disruption out to the west of us as well, and a little bit of warm air advection also is pushing up into the Arctic. So that's the kind of things that you look for to start getting a Scandinavian high going. If we could go on beyond that, it's possible we will see a Scandinavian high taking over and turning the wind into the east with that. I think the GM keeps us relatively dry, really, up to day 10, which is the 4th of November, but quite cold. And then the ECMWF looks like this. High pressure is out to the west of us as we go into the early part of next week, feeding in those cold winds. And the high sort of ridges down over us through the middle part of next week. Will still be quite cold, especially at night, with perhaps a growing risk of fog patches. By the end of next week, the high is gradually declining, allowing low pressure to develop out to the west. Possibly starting to bring something a little bit milder up from the south as well. Many more extended range, turning unsettled with the ECM. So that's how we look at day 10, which is Monday the 4th of November. We're looking genuinely quite unsettled then, with low pressure, no doubt bringing showers, if not longer spells of rain. That could bring a bit of a soggy bonfire night, perhaps. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is getting us to the 4th of November. We have 13 members of the ECM ensembles with an area of above average heights to our north, below average heights to our west and southwest. Probably bringing in quite cold easterly winds with those, so that could be relatively cold for the early part of November. We have 10, but relatively dry too. 10 with a deep area of low pressure over the top of the country, so obviously they're going to be very unsettled. 8 with low pressure more towards the north, they're going to be unsettled again. Another 8 has low pressure to the south of us, high pressure out to the northwest. It's going to be quite unsettled and relatively cold as well. 7 with low pressure to our west and a high pressure area to the east. So that's sort of a battleground UK type scenario, and could be bringing up relatively mild southerly winds. And then 5 with high pressure out to the northwest, and they'll be bringing cold northeasterly winds probably, but mostly dry. So it continues to be the case actually that as we go into the early part of November, there is quite a lot of confusion within the model output, but don't rule out the chance of quite a cold first week to November. And then in 2 weeks' time, this is what we've got. This is getting us to the 9th of November. So perhaps signs of it turning increasingly unsettled then. 17 members of the ECM ensembles have this deep area of low pressure over top of the UK. Another 17 have the low pressure more out to the west. They'll be quite unsettled too. And 17 with low pressure to our west-southwest and a large area of high pressure blocking in the Norwegian Sea. So unsettled, but potentially bringing in east to northeast winds there could be quite cool, maybe even a little bit on the cold side. I think the broad trend there is for the first week of November to potentially be quite cold. The second week of November may turn a bit milder, but is likely to turn very unsettled potentially too. And then finally, this is what the CFS is forecasting for November today. This is the 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS V2 for November 2019, and it's going from an area of below average heights to be in the Atlantic, but also going a little bit to our south. The Azores high looks like it's displaced a little bit further southwest from us. The jet stream would be going on like a northwest-southeast alignment, and up here we have strong blocking signals over northern Russia and the North Scandinavia, and going up into the Arctic. And it's that area of high pressure that we've got up there that is forcing the low pressure and the jet stream to do something a little bit like that. So I imagine this would be quite an unsettled month if it came off. It could also be a rather coolish month though, possibly even at times rather on the cold side if the jet stream starts to dig far enough south. Temperature anomalies from the CFS V2 are being forecast to be average for this November. And precipitation-wise, no particular signal really, but I would suspect it would be above average rainfall type month, above average precipitation. But it's a relatively interesting chart because although yes it does have an active Atlantic with low pressure to south of Greenland, you see the way that's digging northwest to southeast with the jet stream, so that does allow the possibility of entrenching some colder air into that trough of low pressure, especially of course if this blocking starts to become stronger and begins to feed in east to northeasterly winds across much of northern Europe. It's one to watch, but it's not, and we saw this within JMA Friday as well, it's not the traditional sort of west-southwest zonal pattern that we tend to expect at this time of year. We tend to expect the jet stream to be doing something a little bit like that, bringing west to southwesterlies into Europe. It's not that. It is unsettled, and it is still Atlantic driven, but it's a sort of a colder flavour, if you like, of Atlantic-driven zonal weather. So we shall see about that. Of course, that's very speculative, and we'll just keep monitoring, and we'll see how November pans out. But coming back to the more reliable time frame, which is the next sort of week, 10 days. So next week is going to be drier but colder. There's going to be overnight frost and perhaps an increasing risk of fog by the middle of next week into early November, I think the trends are there, but it starts to turn more unsettled again, probably. And still, I would have thought relatively chilly as well. So cool but unsettled through early November. And then where we go beyond that, it remains to be seen. Right, so that's the videos for today. Now, I've got a very, very busy weekend of updates coming up this weekend. So tomorrow, kicking it all off, will be the second season one roundup for winter of 2019-2020. We're going to get 13 long-range ones together to see what they're all showing for this winter, so that will be quite an interesting watch. We'll also have a weekend forecast and a week 10-day video update coming up for you tomorrow as well, as usual, on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have got the 9th winter 2019-2020 update. It's going to be a bit of a solar special this one, so we're going to have loads and loads about solar cycle 24 and what it could mean for the winter in terms of this winter being a solar minimum winter. So that's all going to be within the 9th winter update. And there'll be the 4th and final written update for Christmas as well on Sunday. And that's the final one, because next week on the 1st of November, can you believe it, we will be starting the Christmas countdown in terms of the video updates. We'll have our first Christmas update video-wise on the 1st of November as we begin the Christmas countdown. Right, well, that's it for now, though. It's been a longish video, so thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to check out all of today's other videos, and keep checking back to the website through the weekend for all of the updates. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.